Hello all of you lovely people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and I've got just one thing to say to you. You haven't even witnessed my true final form! With maybe a tweak here and there, this is pretty much the calling card of any proper villain, right? I mean, you might have just won a lengthy battle, but with an evil glint in their eyes and an utterance of this uber-popular phrase, the big bad in question will suddenly just get, well, bigger and badder as they explode through their own skin and become a beast of pure destruction. Basically, think how Ganon lives his life, endlessly transforming from badass to badass, and sometimes pig badass, the absolute swine. Yet not all transformations are made equal, and while you might see the likes of Cell from the Dragon Ball franchise morph into something as deadly as he is handsome, there are many bosses who don't exactly cut the mustard when it comes to trying out their new skin suit, so let's take a look at them today. So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game bosses with ridiculous final forms. And remember, I've said ridiculous, not terrible, just that they elicited giggles more than spine-tingling chills. Number 8, DAHAKA, Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. Sometimes a video game boss final form is ridiculous not because of what it looks like, but because of how utterly useless it appears to be. And this is such the case of DAHAKA from Prince of Persia Warrior Within. On the very literal surface, this beast is utterly intimidating, a hulking mass of jet black armor, immeasurable might, and a cheeky tentacle thrown in for good measure. DAHAKA is an enemy that makes its presence known and constantly hounds the prince throughout his adventure. However, this leads to a moment which is so underwhelming that it's actually comical. After powering up his weapons enough to deal damage to the beast, the prince carves apart this armor and pushes it off the ledge into the raging waters below. Suddenly though, the water turns black, energy crackles from beneath the surface, and DAHAKA bursts forth, but this time as a huge demon with monstrous appendages. Oh boy, better get ready for a fight. No, wait, no, where's he going? Where's he go? That was it! He was only on screen for about 5 seconds. Honestly, this thing is such a waste that it's laughable. Number 7, MAGI the Magic Researcher, Legend of Dragoon. Finally, I have found a reason to talk about the almighty Legend of Dragoon. This PS1 cult classic has gone so underappreciated for so long it is almost criminal, and for anyone with even a slight interest in JRPGs, you owe it to yourself to give this one a go. It is brilliant. It's an excellent, often spellbinding experience with a brilliant combat system, an outstanding level of detail, and charming characters left, right, and center. It's also wildly hilarious in places, which brings us to the case of MAGI the Magic Researcher. Now, while this fellow isn't a boss in the traditional means, he sure does act like one. This guy, well, he's been spending a little bit too long in the depths of the Black Castle, and while he believes himself to be a master of the arcane arts, his efforts amount to little more than boastful jabbering. However, when pushed by the party, he claims that he will transform into a beast that will destroy them all, only to fail at this and end up as a wee dog, which the group then comments on as looking cute. I definitely think that this is a case of his bark being much worse than his bite. I'm sorry. Number 6, WALLY WARBLES, CUPHEAD. For the most part, the bosses in CUPHEAD are no joke. While they might look like they're straight out of a children's cartoon, they will crush you like an episode of Black Mirror. And as this shady bunch isn't ever going to go down without a fight, they will try everything and anything they can to get the edge over you and your mate Mugman, including adopting multiple forms. However, while Goopy Legrand won't even let death itself stop him from having a go, WALLY WARBLES ends up in much worse condition during his boss fight. After you've smashed apart his house and killed his child, I mean, don't think too much about that one, you then have to take on Wally, who's being assisted by 2 medical-themed birds. An air ambulance? I'm sorry, I'll stop making these jokes. It's a far cry from the feathered foe who tried to cover the screen with blue razor-tipped death, as now Wally either spits out literal garbage for you to avoid or just dies as his heart leaves his body for a short while. Just give it up, mate. This is just embarrassing. Number 5, Cat Bowser, Super Mario 3D World. When one thinks of truly iconic video game villains, Bowser is going to be near the top, if not being the pinnacle of that list, and you know what, that's with good reason. This spiky brute has been the bane of Mario's entire career, constantly abducting Princess Peach or ruining everyone's fun with his desire to rule the galaxy. Plus, you know what, his design is just outstandingly cool. That being said, he's had a few duff appearances across the years. For example, the fear of seeing his junk exposed by tipping his bathwater in Super Mario Sunshine was actually deadlier than anything that he could do to the player, but this was nothing when compared to Cat Bowser from Super Mario 3D World. Because I mean, how can you take a monstrous evil seriously when their ultimate form is something that looks this adorable? I mean, look at the pose he makes. It was as if Nintendo wrote him off as never being threatening ever again. Now, the subsequent boss battle itself is pretty challenging, but it's always punctuated by the fact that Bowser, the greatest evil of the land, looks like Hello Kitty has done him a makeover. Number 4. True Ogre, Tekken 3. When it comes to fighting video games, it's often the case that the final boss is going to whip out some absolute stonking final form and will likely include special attacks that either kill you in one hit or are completely unblockable. And for some reason we tolerate this. I mean, maybe it's likely because it's then that much more satisfying to batter them into submission. But you know what, there are some times where we've absolutely curb stomped the final boss in question, no matter how powered up they claim to be. Take True Ogre, the final form of Tekken 3's mashup of Perfect Cell and the Incredible Hulk, who is the self-professed god of fighting. And you know what? In his first phase, he might well be able to claim that title, as he boasts a bevy of moves which can and will wipe the floor with you. However, after you've slapped that smug look off his face, he transforms into a literal monster. With elongated arms, massive claws, fire breath, and a hulking frame, True Ogre sure looks the business, but he's ludicrously easy to beat. His sluggish wind-ups and large body means that he's easy to tag and even easier to juggle. In fact, so notable is his drop-in challenge that he routinely makes the top spot for easiest Tekken boss characters ever. Ouch. Number 3. Jasper BATT Jr. No More Heroes 2. When it comes to boss battles, the No More Heroes series does not mess around. Each of them is a perfectly crafted experience that will push Travis and the player to their utter limits. Often the bosses are incredibly well designed, have unique elements to their fights, and will leave you with a massive dumb smile on your face come the incredibly bloody end. Jasper BATT Jr. also follows these tenets. However, his defining feature is also that he's a huge cunt. Beginning the fight by taunting Travis with the severed heads of his friends, don't worry, it's actually just a freak-out method, this bold little brat floats about the screen in some weird hovercar/workstation. Upon downing this, he'll then power up immensely with a super serum that turns him into a walking tank made of muscles and cheap moves. This is an incredibly difficult stage to get through and may well see you getting KO'd 9 times out of 10. However, if you can make it through, well, it is just bizarre what happens next. After being drop-kicked out of a window, Travis and Henry seem to think that the battle is over. That is until a giant inflatable version of Jasper then appears, scraping the roof off the building that you're in. The fight that takes place after is an absolute joke, with Travis easily being able to dodge his moves. In fact, it's so laughable that Henry straight up leaves the fight while stating that he won't battle that because I've got standards. Number 2. POKEY/PORKY from Mother 3. This little piglet is one of the main antagonists of the entire series, transcending from being just an annoying neighbor to the leader of a cult, and finally to the right-hand man of Gygus in Earthbound. In Mother 3, he resurfaces again, but this time he's gone through some pretty disturbing changes. He claims that his constant time travel has made him immortal and given him access to some pretty mean psychic powers, both of which make up for a slogfest against him where it's unclear if you can actually defeat him. However, through grit and some plot-centric gubbins, you appear to have gotten the best of this little runt. That is until he unveils his final form. Pulling from the ether an absolutely safe capsule, Porky ducks inside and begins to taunt you, because this device is completely indestructible and nothing can harm him, meaning that he wins, right? Well, it turns out that he can't do anything from within the capsule either, and thanks to his immortality means that he will now spend the rest of time itself locked within this cage. It's a depressing, deflating, and altogether disturbing end indeed. And number 1, Oogie Boogie, Kingdom Hearts. When it comes to quality bosses, the Kingdom Hearts series has them in spades. From conflicts that are so wrought with emotion that they genuinely feel like you're losing something of yourself to them, to that epic and one-of-a-kind moment where you squared off against Sephiroth in the Athens arena in the original game, Square Enix knocked it out of the park time and time again. That being said, when it came to the boss battle against Oogie Boogie, the team kind of dropped the ball with this final phase because, well, it absolutely sucked. The first sequence is a genuine thrill ride as Oogie traps you in a devious game show-esque device that sprouts numerous different traps depending on which section of the gaudy platform that you're fighting on. It's a brilliant blend of his character's love of gambling and the horrible tricks that he plays on those that make deals with him. However, his second form, which sees him grow to and then encompass the size of an entire mansion, removes everything challenging about the fight. And I mean that literally, seeing as he can barely move and his attacks are so weak here that somebody figured out that the regular enemies in this stage end up doing more damage. Pretty pathetic, all things considered. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game bosses with ridiculous final forms. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. It's my personal gaming channel where I stream every single Wednesday and Sunday. It'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today a lot about video game bosses who try to push you hard but ended up, well, us having a laugh at them. And you know what? We can definitely do that to big problems in our life. Sometimes a bit of humor will get us through a lot of difficult situations. Being able to look at something in one way and be intimidated by it, but then just taking a step back, using perspective and the support of friends, families, and other people as well, might make that once great big boss in your life, that big evil, actually into something a bit of a joke that can be circumvented or completely and outright defeated. So talk to your friends, be open with them, make sure that nothing builds up in your mind to become the final boss, and remember, at the end of the day, you can defeat it. We all can, because you're not alone. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.